Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is another speedrun video. I'm sorry that I was not able to make a lot of it lately, but now I got the time, so I will return to make at least one speedrun video per week. At least, maybe even more than once, maybe two, maybe three, maybe none. I don't know why I say that, but okay. So in this series, obviously, we are playing rapid, like one game of 10 plus 0, in order to teach you some skills, explain some stuff about openings, about my thinking process, and other things in order to help you to improve. Obviously, you can feel free to ask me things, and obviously we can review the game later on and talk through the games, right? So, let's start right away. And once again, as I mentioned earlier, I will play some sorts of random openings or some kind of openings that I want to play in the game. When I reach 1400, I will try to play some, like maybe one opening only for both sides. But right now, I think it's still good to play different kind of things and teach you different kind of knowledges. But in the meantime, I will say that I am sure I do not know all the detail, so I will try my best to cover everything I know. Let's go to the game and let's go. Okay, so here we got, I think, someone from Indonesia who start with A4. But okay, I don't know what's going on, so let me just play E5 and say the center. This guy may be someone who throws a little, I don't know, but at least I think I can be able to teach you how to deal with this kind of moves that doesn't make any sense. So normally you don't know what's going on, right? So let's just play what you want to play and do not care about what he's doing. D5, get a center. G3, finally no more stuff. Knight F6. G2, I will just play bishop to... I can play plenty of things. I can play knight to c6. I can play bishop b6 here as well too. I can play various things, but I think the best way to teach you is just to develop properly and try next activities. To c5, I will play that. Get bishop out and put pressure on the square if I can. c3, castles, and now finish development. Somehow, so sometimes you may see when your opponent is playing something that looks very strange. In this case, just finish your own development and do not care much about what he's doing, right? Focus on your own play. E3, okay. After we finish castling, I think it is time to talk a little bit about the game. So, objectively speaking, this is a mistake, because you can see right now, these light squares become quite weak, right? The bishop can only cover from this side, but in this side, it is quite weakening. Normally, I teach my students that it is somewhat, not very wise when you play G3 and E3 in the same time. Obviously, sometimes you may do it, especially in English, when you come to D4. But here, I will play E4 myself to highlight the fact that these squares can become weakened later on. After that, I can bring my knight to these squares. I can go bishop G4, and his last squares will certainly feel not healthy at all. Knight E5. I will keep on doing my work. Somehow, some opponent, I don't know what he's doing, but it is certainly not good for him. So I will just keep on doing what I am planning. So here you may think like it should be good to check first, right? But I check here, king f1, and then you may need to take the knight later on. I believe that this thing will always exist at this point, so I will just take the knight first, because I always believe that the threat is stronger than execution. The question is, what pieces should we take on d6, right? The pawn or the queen? The queen, I think, is much better because not just it doesn't weaken our pawn structures, but also the queen can join the attack, maybe from the square or from the side. So queen d6. a3. So I think now is the time. Knight d3 looks fair. Okay, let's think a little bit first. I think this time still knight d3. It's time to go for this. d3 checks. His weakness in the last squares now starts to tell. King f1. So now the square can become a weakness, right? Knight g4. Keep on putting pressure on the square. Also threaten to bring the queen out to support the attack. After I finished castling, I have a clear plan to push the pawn here and seize some light squares. Obviously, my opponent is not, losing yet, but he didn't even defend at all. And now, obviously, we take the pawn, and this is winning. I feel like this is like somewhat a throne play from this guy, but I think I'm showing a very good example of how to deal against this kind of stuff. b5, queen f6. I saw this b5 ideas here. He want to go for a skewer, but I got queen f6, and the attack in the f file I think is stronger than anything else. Now f3, he gave away the knight to close the file. So I can take here and obviously become a piece up. I can take it as well too. And once again, we have material, but no. I want to be brutal and I want to just play the best move here so you guys can see how I conduct my attack. I will play bishop g4. Pin the queen, attack the bishop, attack the knight once again, and get one piece to the attack. Now the knight can't be covered anymore, and this is looking deadly. Under the pressure, and now it's time. Earlier, if I take on f3, right, you can take here with the queen or the bishop. But now bishop is here, right? You couldn't do it. He's to take here with the bishop, but now this is losing tons of material. Funnily enough, his queen is even trapped. So take back here for sure. Now mate is happening. Bishop f8. Okay, he resigned. Obviously, he didn't let me to go for the mate. But okay, guys, before getting to review the game and talk about how fast I crush this guy, I want to ask you a question. If he play here, bishop f8, what black can do here to go for the quickest mate? You can win by many ways, but what do you think is the quickest way here to go for the mate? Let's go. I mean, you can obviously go for f8 and win the game slowly, but here you can meet your opponent right away by to answer the question, you must understand, like, if you check the king, where can it run, right? Bishop e4, king e2, and the king can run here. I mean, actually bishop e4 is also fine. When here, queen f3 is also a mate. King g1 is also the same. For me, so I did plan to say that bishop d1 is the best move because it blocked the king from running out. Here and here is also a mate, right? Bishop to g4 also do the same. And also bishop h5, right? Which have the same idea. So obviously it is easy, also pretty basic, right? So let's get to the game here and analyze it a little bit. Obviously, I think in the game, so my opponent didn't play right at all. I even feel like he is some sorts of, trollers or something like that. But still, this kind of play sometimes can happen in early level. Also, sorry for the rating, adjustments. Like, I just got 30 points from winning this game. Obviously, I have changed it earlier, but after didn't play for so long, I think the rating got adjusted again. But I guess once I start play again, the rating will not improve this quickly. Okay, so let's talk the game here a little bit. So in the game he play a4. Obviously a very dubious stuff. e5, just for the content, this line will only be good if he follow it up with rook a3, right? Rook a3 is a famous variation that is, I think, recommended by Andrew Hong and one other famous player who got to 3100 in Bliss, isn't it? And that's the thing. But he played a5, which is wrong theoretically. Simple as that. So, in the game, here he played this move here, and I just keep on developing with c5. After these two in this move, finally he played g3. Knight f6, g2, and I keep on developing. So as I mentioned earlier, a good thing to do, especially when the opponent just plays some odd, dubious, and not so making sense thing in the early phase of the game, is just to keep on developing and don't care about what he's doing, right? Well, I know this guy may be a troller, but at the end of the day, he still developed properly. He only played first two moves bad, I guess. So we need to learn the way to punish this guy as well, especially in early level. So in the game, I just keep on developing, which I think is the most natural way to play, right? Because I was here, if you play maybe like d4 or some other stuff, it's gonna be making more sense. Which I will play like here or just like here for instance, and check here. When although I am not making much progress, but at least I got a fairly easy to play game at this point. But he played e3, which is very weakening because these light squares here are under attack. I see that, and also like the bishop here on c1 is in big trouble. So when I see this, I play e4 right away because I want to seize the chance and put pressure on these light squares. So once you see these weaknesses, you want to play e4 to highlight that and to just, emphasize the weakness of these squares. Here, so I think good or bad, he must play d4, which I intend to go for the in crescent. No, I mean in passant. Queen d3, and I can play like knight to c6 here, and I play here as well too. Here for instance, and now you can see as well that these light squares are still pretty weak, right? So the thing with this idea is that at the very least, he can prevent me from creating a bind. In the game, he just let me do it so easily. Before, this is here in the game, now a3, c6, and b5, and finally, I managed to create the bind. This is already very troublesome, because now knight a3 is just supposed to be stopped. The only way to stop it is bishop f1, but obviously it looks very, very sad. Not just he needs to abandon the diagonal, but also now it feels like he hasn't made any attempt at all to develop. I can play bishop g4 for instance, put pressure on his queen, and then develop the tempo, right? And this one is still available. You can play here too as well. I can even play queen d7 and queen f5 to putting pressure on his pieces, you know. Plenty of moves here are available. So in the game, you take the bishop here, take back with the queen. I can check here right away, but I was like, okay, so the check is always available, so I'm not in a rush. Queen d6. So now my threat is 93, and then knight g4 to put pressure on this pawn f2. In the game, it worked out perfectly well. I guess the best way to play for him here is h3. h3. So, okay, here, before I keep on talking, I want to ask, what do you guys think here? What is the weakness of the white camp, and how can you exploit that? Like to play. I want to know, what do you guys think here, and what would you do as well? Knight d3 looks strong. And then kf1 here, and you need to keep on finding what to do next. These checks are easily made, but what is more important is what to do after checking, you know. So I don't know. For me personally, I will not suggest doing that right away. Like that is always available, so I don't even know. Queen here is also pretty good. I did mention earlier in the game that the queen can be going to here and put pressure on this light squares, right? But for me, I think in the game I will play bishop to d7, which I think will be very annoying. Not just I get away from a rook to get out, but also I plan bishop b5 and put great pressure on the diagonal, right? Imagine here, for instance, not only I block the b5 push, but also now I think you can see my bishop here just put extreme pressure on this position, right? Well, I mean, it is a slow move. The side, like, when you need to start looking for them, when nothing can be working right away. For instance, after like here and here, you don't really have any real threats anymore, and you will still need to find a plan to do, right? And that's when these slow moves can come to your mind. Keep on developing, or you can play like even here 97 to push like f5, f4, or going for here as well to cement your outpost. Many ways to play here, but the reason why I came up with this slow move maneuvering is that I realized check here seems cool, but I don't really have much to do after that. So I can play bishop d7 here in order to bring bishop to the game and attack his weaknesses. You understand me? So in the game, he plays bishop e3 here, refuse to defend. Knight d3, king f1, and knight g4. This is a clear threat, right? And I think here at this point he is already in huge trouble. So the best way to play, which I expect him to do, is knight h3. When I will play queen f6, attack with this again. If you play queen e2, this one is wrong because, guys, black should play and win material. This one is a nice and instructive tactics to find. So I want you to give it a shot. Let's play and win material. How to do it? There is a pretty nice tactics here that may be so simple to be seen. I see a pin, yes, I see it's right at the bishop. Yes, it is. But somehow, so here in the first sign, the f2 is a clear one, right? But it is adequately covered by white pieces. But the main problem is the placement of the white pieces that can be exploited. Move here is knight gf2 exclamation mark. He must take back with the knight if he doesn't want to lose material. And now there comes bishop g4 exclamation mark. That's one. So once again, it just shows that like are so much superior in terms of pieces placement. Queen g4 allow queen f2 with mate on the spot. The queen on e2 here is surprisingly out of squares because queen e1 is losing the queen. Queen d1 mate and the queen can't go anywhere at all. Bishop f3 is just extending the brutality. So here there is simply nothing I can do. Then we can go queen d3 and accept a completely lost position. You can win slowly by up material, right? So at this point, I think it is already dead loss because spaces are so bad here and cannot contribute much to the game. So in the game, queen d2 was play, knight f2, attack the rook here on h1, b5, trying to win material, but then queen f6 is enough. Here, so with this one here, not just I want to put pressure on the f-file, but bishop g4 is also a threat that wins the queen. At this point, there is simply no defense at all. Next in the game, I can take here, I can take here, I can run over here as well too, and win material by many moves. But no, I just keep on playing this one. Exert more pressure on everything, and not just win material, I win the game on the spot. h3 takes, here, and then he resigned. The fun thing you can see here is that at this point, the queen is still trapped, right? Which is the main problem. So, to sum it up, in the game, my opponent, he went for a very dubious setup. After spending the first two moves, just pushing the pawn for nothing at all, he weakened his own light squares. You see, right? For me, I just castles properly, finish my development, and when I start seeing these weaknesses, I play e4 right away to targeting these squares. He must play d4 to prevent me from getting my plan to work, but he underestimated the strength of it, or maybe not seeing it. And in the game, he let me carry out my plan nicely. After that, he couldn't defend because his pieces are so useless, so misplaced, and so helpless against all of my ideas. I can win the game by so many moves, and in the game, I finished the game in style. Okay, so that's the game here. Obviously, I think this white player from Indonesia, he was like some sort of a troll who plays something terrible in the opening, right? But still, I think it's gonna be quite good to understand how can you deal with it and how can you be able to just punish your opponent in these cases, right? So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoy my explanation, and please give me any feedbacks if you are interested in, and ask me any questions in the chat. Thank you, and see you in the next videos.